Hello, I am Maria Hanlin, and I can't wait until I can meet with you in person. I was asked to share my ministry journey to First Presbyterian Church. Oh, but how I wish I could hear each of your stories. I know I would learn so much from you. Hopefully, someday soon. First, you need to know I have been United Methodist since 9 months before I was born. I am an ordained United Methodist minister, just grateful that the Presbyterians invited me to join with you. After graduating college, I planned to do 2 years in the Peace Corps. But my bishop called me up to have a meeting with him, and he said, "Maria, I think you should become a United Methodist missionary instead of Peace Corps. But I want to tell you that what I really believe God is calling you to do, I think God is calling you to be a minister." Well, this is 1981 in Montgomery, Alabama. I had never seen a woman minister or even heard of one. And I said, "Bishop Duffy, don't you know that's blasphemous? Haven't you read Paul?" I have always been outspoken. Thankfully, I have also evolved. So I became a Methodist missionary and went to California to serve in a girls' home for emotionally disturbed and abused teenage girls, many of them gang kids, 13 to 18-year-olds. I was 22. I became a house parent living with 8 of the girls. And after I'd been there a couple of months, the executive director came to me and said, "Maria, I think you are much more suited to be our chaplain than being a house parent for girls only a few years younger than you." So as I grew into the chaplain's role, I realized, yes, God was calling me, a woman, into ministry. I went to the seminary at the School of Theology in Claremont, California, one of the Claremont graduate schools, and upon graduation, they asked me to be their director of admissions. After 2 years, Northridge United Methodist Church asked me to become their associate pastor. I served there for 8 years, including during the Northridge earthquake. Our church became FEMA headquarters for all of Los Angeles County, and we really learned what it was like to be a church during a disaster. But after a year, with over 10,000 aftershocks and our 4-year-old daughter having regular night terrors, we decided to move to Charlotte, North Carolina. Also, I have to add, my parents in Alabama said that when I had stayed for 13 years in California and had 2 of their grandchildren, I had become the heathen. So I moved to Charlotte and became associate pastor at Matthews United Methodist Church, a 4,000-member church outside of Charlotte. While ministering there, I did my doctorate in ministry with the poor, my thesis written on Christ's words in Matthew 25. "As long as you have done this for the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you have done it unto me." After 5 years at Matthews United Methodist Church, my bishop asked if I would be a founding pastor of a contemporary church in Charlotte. Now again, I knew several founding male pastors, but not one founding female pastors. But let me say, one of the greatest privileges of my life was being the founding pastor of Light of Christ United Methodist Church in Charlotte, which just built its sanctuary this past year. After Light of Christ, I became the executive director for Mecklenburg Ministries in Charlotte. That's Charlotte's interfaith organization. My job was to develop interfaith relationships, foster racial reconciliation, and address social justice issues across the city. What an awesome job description. When I had my 50th birthday, my husband and kids threw me a party at a small art gallery, and my family simply went into my email contacts and invited people. At the end of the party, the gallery owners came up to me and said, "Who are you?" I said, "Well, what do you mean?" They said, "There were a lot of homeless people here, and Asians and Arabs and Latinas, blacks and whites, the mayor, city council, imams and rabbis and priests. Oh my." I said, "Isn't it great? It's my job." And then in 2013, Habitat for Humanity of Greater Greensboro asked me to apply for their executive position. I chuckled as I sent them my resume because I am lousy with a hammer. But I'm not too bad at fundraising. Still, I was very surprised when they offered me the job. And my husband was willing to move for the third time, and that's how we got to Greensboro. We love Greensboro. And I'll never forget when Reverend Dan Morris of West Market Street United Methodist Church was working on the roof of one of our houses. And he asked our Director of Development, "Daintree, does Maria ever get up on the roof?" And her immediate reply was, "Oh no, we don't want Maria on the roof." I retired from Habitat after 7 years at the age of 60. I gave our board of directors 9 months to do a search for their next executive. And then I went to meet with them and all of our funders to thank them for their support and let them know I would be retiring in 9 months. The first person I met with was Neil. And I said, "Neil, First Presbyterian Church has been such a faithful supporter of Habitat for Humanity, and I want to personally just thank you. I also want to let you know that I'm retiring in 9 months." And Neil said, "Well, would you come on the pastoral staff at First Presbyterian Church?" I said, "Neil, I just told you that I'm retiring." But 6 months after my retirement, Neil called me up to go to church. And Neil asked if I would reconsider coming on staff. And knowing what a great church and congregation FPC is, your commitment to missions, how you support Habitat and the LGBTQ community, I was honored to say yes. And the rest is history. I told Neil that 6 months after he retires, I'm inviting him to go to lunch. I love First Presbyterian Church. The staff are so supportive. The congregation is focused on the least of these. Our ministries are so important. My work is 15 hours a week, and I am privileged to follow many of the people that Russell Sherrill and David Partington followed. Occasionally I'm asked if I'm taking Russell's and David's place. "Oh no," I reply. I could never fill their shoes. But I'm so privileged to love some of the same people that they did. We are all, staff and congregation, heartbroken over Dolly's death. How our congregation and staff have responded with such love for the family, our great grief, but so much more gratitude for Dolly and her friendship and ministry. It makes me all the more thankful to God that I am here at First Presbyterian Church for such a time as this. My husband, Tim, will be joining this great church in September, and we are honored to call First Presbyterian Church our church home.